Good day, learners. Welcome to our lesson on calculating wages and earnings. In this lesson, we will explore different types of earnings and learn how to calculate them accurately. By the end of this lesson, you will realize that mathematics is not only about solving problems on paper. It is also a practical tool that helps us understand real-life situations, especially those involving work and income. Let us begin. Before we start, let us look at our learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define important terms related to wages and salaries. You should also be able to calculate monthly, semi-monthly, and weekly salaries. Another objective is to compute wages based on hourly rates. We will also learn how overtime pay and premium pay are computed. Finally, we will calculate commission and piecework earnings and apply all these concepts to realistic workplace situations. Keep these objectives in mind as we proceed because they will guide our learning throughout the lesson. Let us begin with a simple situation. Imagine that you have just started your first job. After working for several weeks, you receive your first paycheck. Naturally, you would be excited to see how much money you earned. But here is an important question. How will you know if the amount written on your paycheck is correct? How will you know if your employer included your overtime pay? What if you worked on a holiday? What if part of your earnings came from commission? As we go through today's lesson, keep this essential question in mind. Can mathematics help us verify our earnings? By the end of the lesson, you should be able to answer that question confidently. Let us begin with the concept of wage. A wage refers to the remuneration or earnings paid by an employer to an employee for work done or services rendered. Wages may be based on time worked, tasks completed, products produced, or commissions earned. In other words, the method of payment may vary depending on the nature of the job. In simpler terms, a wage is the money a worker receives in exchange for labor or services. Consider Miguel, who works as a construction helper. Every day he reports to work, he receives 700 pesos. This payment is his wage. There are different ways workers receive wages. The first type is the hourly wage. An hourly wage is the amount earned for every hour worked. For example, a fast food crew member may earn 100 pesos for every hour of work. The second type is the daily wage. A daily wage is the amount earned for each day of actual work. It generally excludes days when the employee did not work, such as rest days, holidays, or approved leaves, unless otherwise provided by law or company policy. A salary is different from a wage. While wages often vary according to hours worked or days worked, a salary is a fixed regular payment received by an employee. Many professionals, office workers, managers, and government employees receive salaries. For example, Teacher Santos receives the same salary every month regardless of the exact number of school days in that month. Because salaries are fixed, they provide employees with predictable income. Understanding the distinction between wages and salaries is important because each uses different methods of computation. There are several ways salaries may be expressed. An annual salary refers to the total amount earned in 1 year. A monthly salary refers to the amount received every month. A semi-monthly salary is received twice each month, usually every 15 days. A weekly salary refers to earnings received every week. Although these salary types describe the same earnings, they present them using different time periods. As we continue, we will learn how to convert one type of salary into another. Consider Maria, a school principal. Her employment contract states that she earns 480,000 pesos annually. The word annual means yearly. Therefore, Maria's annual salary represents the total amount she earns in 1 year. However, employees usually do not receive their annual salary all at once. Instead, it is divided into monthly or semi-monthly payments. Because of this, we often need to convert annual salary into monthly or weekly salary. Let us learn the formula for doing that. To determine monthly salary from annual salary, divide the annual salary by 12 because there are 12 months in 1 year. This formula helps us find how much an employee receives every month. For daily paid employees, monthly salary may also be estimated by multiplying the daily wage by 24 working days. These formulas are useful when comparing salaries or determining earnings over different periods. Always identify which information is given before selecting the appropriate formula. Let us apply the formula. Maria earns 480,000 pesos per year. To determine her monthly salary, divide 480,000 by 12. The result is 40,000 pesos. Therefore, Maria earns 40,000 pesos every month. This example demonstrates how a simple formula can convert annual salary into monthly salary. Always remember that the key idea is to divide the annual salary equally among the 12 months of the year. Now that we know how to calculate monthly salary, let us proceed to other salary computations. Now that we know how to compute monthly salary, let us look at another common payroll arrangement called a semi-monthly salary. Many employees do not receive their salary only once a month. Instead, employers divide the monthly salary into 2 equal payments. This is called a semi-monthly salary. A semi-monthly salary is the amount earned twice each month, usually every 15 days. In many companies, employees receive one payment during the middle of the month and another payment at the end of the month. For example, suppose teacher Santos receives a monthly salary of 40,000 pesos. Her employer pays employees twice a month. Instead of receiving the entire 40,000 pesos at once, she receives half of it during the first pay period and the remaining half during the second pay period. Can you already predict how we might calculate her semi-monthly salary? That's right. We simply divide the monthly salary by 2. Let us see this in the next slide. Let us apply the formula. Teacher Santos receives a monthly salary of 40,000 pesos. Before we compute, let us identify the given information. The monthly salary is 40,000 pesos. Since semi-monthly salary means the salary is paid twice each month, we divide the monthly salary by 2. 40,000 divided by 2 equals 20,000. Therefore, Teacher Santos receives 20,000 pesos every pay period. Let us think about this carefully. If she receives 20,000 pesos in the first pay period and another 20,000 pesos in the second pay period, what is her total salary for the month? Correct. 20,000 plus 20,000 equals 40,000 pesos. This shows that semi-monthly salary does not increase or decrease earnings. It simply changes how often the employee receives the money. Employees may also want to know how much they earn each week. Why might weekly salary be useful? Some workers prepare weekly budgets. Others compare job offers using weekly earnings. Weekly salary can also help employees estimate how much they earn over shorter periods. To determine weekly salary from annual salary, we divide the annual salary by 52. Why 52? Because there are 52 weeks in 1 year. For workers who are paid daily, weekly salary may also be estimated by multiplying the daily wage by 6 working days. Notice that we now have another way of expressing earnings. Just as annual salary can be converted into monthly salary, it can also be converted into weekly salary. Let us use Maria's annual salary as an example. Maria earns 480,000 pesos annually. Our goal is to determine how much she earns in 1 week. Using the formula, divide 480,000 by 52. The result is approximately 9,230 pesos and 77 centavos. Therefore, Maria's equivalent weekly salary is approximately 9,230 pesos and 77 centavos. Let us interpret the answer. Does this mean Maria is paid every week? Not necessarily. It simply tells us how much of her annual salary corresponds to 1 week of work. This computation is useful when comparing employment opportunities or planning expenses over shorter periods. Let us now calculate earnings using an hourly rate. An hourly wage is based on the number of hours worked. Many workers in restaurants, retail stores, call centers, and service industries are paid according to the number of hours they render. To compute wages, multiply the hourly rate by the total number of hours worked. Consider Jerome, who works as a call center agent. Jerome earns 120 pesos per hour. During the week, he worked 40 hours. Before we compute, let us identify the information given. The hourly rate is 120 pesos. The number of hours worked is 40. What formula should we use? Correct. Wage equals hourly rate multiplied by hours worked. Let us perform the computation on the next slide. To calculate Jerome's earnings, multiply 120 pesos by 40 hours. 120 times 40 equals 4,800. Therefore, Jerome earned 4,800 pesos during the week. Let us think about what this means. Suppose Jerome worked 50 hours instead of 40. Would his earnings increase or decrease? Correct. They would increase. What if he worked only 30 hours? His earnings would decrease. This example shows that hourly wages depend directly on the number of hours worked. The more hours worked, the higher the earnings, provided that the hourly rate remains the same. Employees who work beyond 8 hours a day are entitled to overtime pay. Overtime pay is additional compensation given to employees who render work beyond the regular work schedule. According to the rule used in this lesson, overtime work is compensated at an additional 25% of the regular hourly rate. This means overtime hours are paid at a higher rate than regular working hours. Why do you think employees receive overtime pay? That is correct. Employees are compensated for the additional time, effort, and energy required to work beyond their normal schedule. To compute overtime earnings, we first determine the overtime rate. After finding the overtime rate, we multiply it by the number of overtime hours worked. Let us see how this works in an example. Suppose an employee earns 100 pesos per hour. The employee worked 4 overtime hours. First, compute the overtime rate. Multiply 100 pesos by 1.25. This gives an overtime rate of 125 pesos per hour. Next, multiply 125 pesos by 4 overtime hours. The result is 500 pesos. Therefore, the employee receives 500 pesos as overtime pay. Notice that the employee earned more per hour during overtime work than during regular work hours. This is the purpose of overtime pay, to provide additional compensation for extra work. In addition to overtime pay, employees may also receive premium pay under special working conditions. Premium pay refers to additional compensation given when employees work during special schedules. Let us examine the situations listed on the slide. Employees who work on a rest day or special holiday receive 130% of their regular daily wage. Employees who work on a regular holiday receive 200% of their regular daily wage. If a regular holiday falls on a rest day, the employee receives 260% of the regular daily wage. Employees who work between 10 o'clock in the evening and 6 o'clock in the morning receive a night shift differential of 10%. Why do employers provide premium pay? Because these schedules often require employees to work during periods when most people are resting, celebrating holidays, or sleeping. Premium pay helps compensate employees fairly for these situations. Suppose an employee receives a daily wage of 800 pesos. Let us compute the earnings under different premium pay situations. First, work on a rest day. Multiply 800 pesos by 1.3. The resulting pay is 1,040 pesos. Second, work on a regular holiday. Multiply 800 pesos by 2. The resulting pay is 1,600 pesos. Third, work on a regular holiday that also falls on a rest day. Multiply 800 pesos by 2.6. The resulting pay is 2,080 pesos. Notice how earnings increase as the premium rate increases. These examples show how premium pay rewards employees who work under special conditions. Understanding these multipliers helps employees verify whether their compensation has been computed correctly. This concludes our discussion of salary conversions, hourly wages, overtime pay, and premium pay. In the next part of the lesson, we will learn about allowances, commissions, and piecework earnings. Aside from wages and salaries, some employees receive additional benefits known as allowances. Allowances are extra amounts provided by employers to help employees cover expenses related to their work. These amounts are given in addition to the employee's regular wage or salary. Have you ever heard adults talk about transportation allowance, meal allowance, or communication allowance? These are common examples of allowances in the workplace. A transportation allowance helps employees pay for daily travel expenses going to and from work. A meal allowance helps cover food expenses during working hours. A communication allowance helps employees pay for mobile phone or internet expenses used for work-related communication. Some companies may also provide clothing allowances, hazard allowances, or other benefits depending on the nature of the job. It is important to remember that allowances increase an employee's total earnings. Therefore, when calculating compensation, we must include both the salary or wage and any allowances received. Let us see an example in the next slide. Let us apply what we learned about allowances. Suppose Anna works as an administrative assistant in a private company. Her regular salary is 8,000 pesos. In addition to her salary, the company provides a transportation allowance worth 500 pesos and a meal allowance worth 300 pesos. Before solving, let us identify the information given. Salary equals 8,000 pesos. Transportation allowance equals 500 pesos. Meal allowance equals 300 pesos. To determine Anna's total earnings, we add all the amounts together. 8,000 plus 500 plus 300 equals 8,800 pesos. Therefore, Anna's total earnings amount to 8,800 pesos. Notice that the allowances increased Anna's earnings by 800 pesos. This example shows why allowances should always be included when calculating total compensation. Now let us discuss another type of earnings called commission income. Unlike salaries, which are fixed, commission earnings depend on sales performance. Have you ever visited a cell phone store, appliance center, or real estate office? Many sales representatives working in these industries earn commissions whenever they successfully sell products or services. Commission income is earned as a percentage of sales made. This means that employees who sell more products usually earn more money. Because commission earnings depend on performance, employees are often motivated to improve their sales. To calculate commission, we use a simple formula. Commission equals total sales multiplied by the commission rate. Let us apply this formula to a real-life example. Angela works as a sales representative in an appliance store. During the month, she sold appliances worth 100,000 pesos. The company pays a commission rate of 5%. Let us identify the given information. Sales equal 100,000 pesos. Commission rate equals 5%. To compute commission, multiply 100,000 by 5% or 0.05. The result is 5,000 pesos. Therefore, Angela earned 5,000 pesos in commission. Let us think about this situation. What would happen if Angela sold 200,000 pesos worth of appliances instead? Her commission would increase because commission earnings depend on sales. This example demonstrates how commission income rewards employees for strong performance. Some employees receive both a fixed salary and commission. This compensation arrangement combines financial security with performance incentives. The fixed salary provides a guaranteed income, while the commission rewards employees for achieving higher sales. Consider Marco, who works as a real estate agent. He receives a basic salary of 12,000 pesos each month. In addition, he earned 5,000 pesos in commission from successful property sales. To determine Marco's total earnings, we simply add the salary and commission. 12,000 plus 5,000 equals 17,000 pesos. Therefore, Marco's total earnings amount to 17,000 pesos. This system is commonly used in sales-related careers because it motivates employees to perform well while still providing stable income. Another method of compensation is called piecework earnings. Under a piecework system, workers are paid according to the number of items they produce or complete. Unlike hourly workers who are paid based on time, piecework employees are paid based on output. This type of compensation is common in manufacturing, handicrafts, garment production, and other industries where production can be measured easily. The more items completed, the higher the earnings. To calculate piecework earnings, multiply the number of completed items by the payment rate for each item. Let us see how this formula works in a practical example. Ramon works in a handicraft shop that produces souvenir keychains. He completed 250 keychains during the week. The shop pays 12 pesos for every completed keychain. Before solving, let us identify the given information. Pieces completed equals 250. Rate per piece equals 12 pesos. To determine Ramon's earnings, multiply 250 by 12. The result is 3,000 pesos. Therefore, Ramon earned 3,000 pesos through piecework. Notice that Ramon's earnings depend directly on productivity. If he produces more keychains, he earns more money. This example shows how piecework rewards efficiency and output. Thank you for your active participation throughout this lesson. Keep practicing these computations and continue applying mathematics to real-life situations. See you in our next lesson.